Today, I'm going to teach you how to maximize and dramatically increase your credit limit in the shortest amount of time if possible. So this video structure is going to be pretty simple today. We're going to talk about 3 reasons you should do it, 3 reasons you shouldn't, 4 ways to increase your limit, and finally some best practices right at the very end. So make sure to stick around for that. There's some really good tips in there. Let's dive right in and discuss 3 reasons why you should be asking for a credit limit increase. One of the most important reasons why you should be increasing your credit limit is for your credit utilization rate. The higher your credit limit, the lower your utilization rate is, given the same balance on your card. And this is important because it makes up 35% of your overall credit score. If you want to learn more about how this works exactly and all the breakdowns of the categories, watch this video right here on how to get a perfect credit score. It breaks it down perfectly, and you'll even learn how to get a perfect credit score while you're at it. As an example, for when we're talking about your utilization rate, say you have $3,000 outstanding on your credit card, and your limit is only $6,000. That equates to a 50% credit utilization rate on that card. But if you are able to double your credit limit, this credit limit becomes $12,000. So that same $3,000 balance is now only 25% of your utilization limit. Experts unanimously say that you should keep it well under 35%. Some say 36%, some say 30%. In that range is perfect, but try not to go over that in utilization rate. So this will really help get that down if you do tend to carry a balance every month. The second reason why you should ask for a credit limit increase is to maximize your reward potential. And especially if you're a business owner or somebody who buys larger things all at once when you're running errands, this can be really frustrating when you have a small credit limit, and increasing that limit would allow you to buy all these things all at once, all on one card, and hopefully that's the card with the maximum rewards so that you can level up your rewards game and take advantage of that. And finally, the last reason is that it improves your relationship with your lender and can also act as a kind of backup plan, if you will, if you were to lose your job or, anything can happen. So if you have a backup with a higher credit limit that you can draw down in times of need, hopefully for low interest, if you have good credit and you can negotiate it with your lender, there's all kinds of possibilities if you start building that rapport with them, and overall a larger limit is going to come in more handy in those cases. Now, a really important thing that I want to turn to now is 3 reasons why you should not be asking for a credit limit. And please just hear this very clearly, because I don't want anybody to get into a situation that is bad for their financial health. So make sure you take these 3 reasons and just make sure you are not in any one of these situations before you ask for that increase. So the first reason is if you have bad spending habits, or you tend to see your limit on your card as kind of your spending spree, so that when you get a limit increase, you're going to just go and spend it all and maybe not even have the ability to pay it all back in that month.
If you don't have any money, you should not buy anything. Sounds interesting.
Sounds confusing.
And so what's really important for you to know is that your utilization, or 35% of your credit score, is actually worth less in terms of what your credit score is made of than paying your balance in full every month. So if you think you're going to be able to beat the system by increasing your credit limit and then using up that entire new limit, this is not for you, and it's going to harm your credit score and your overall credit report much more than if you were to just stay at your current limit. Now, another thing that's important to note is that it might potentially become a hard inquiry when you inquire about a limit increase. So again, you should check this, which we'll talk about in a moment. But if you do this, make sure that card you're using it frequently and that you're often putting larger purchases on that card. If you're only buying Starbucks coffee with that every Thursday and you pay it back right away and you have a $10,000 limit, chances are that the lender won't grant you a limit increase because they won't see a need why you should be using it. And typically they will automatically even offer credit limit increases, which we'll also talk about in a little bit, when they see that you're drawing down your credit account quite significantly and then paying it back before the end of the month. This is a really good indication to them that you're responsible. So make sure that you're using that card frequently and for larger purchases, and maybe even your main card. Don't try to do it on some side card because you likely won't get approved for it, and that could hurt your credit in terms of that hard inquiry. The third reason why you shouldn't ask for a limit increase is if you're looking to get either a car loan or a mortgage very soon and you want to ask for this credit limit increase. First of all, this will add a hard inquiry onto your account, which of course depending on the lender, and this may reduce your credit score slightly. And when you're applying for an auto loan or a mortgage, this is also seen as a hard inquiry. So again, it can add to the effect on your credit score and might even decrease the amount you're able to get or even the interest rate that you're getting for those loans. Another thing I'd like to note while on this topic of hard inquiries is that typically between 5 to 8 hard inquiries per year is deemed reasonable, but more than this, lenders start to look at you and think that you are in some kind of crisis and that you need credit.
Stop it. Get some help.
This will be seen as a red flag and could affect your credit score negatively. Okay, now time for the juicy stuff. How do you get a limit increase? I've got 4 different ways to do it. You can choose any 4 of these ways. They'll have slight differences, but overall it'll get to the same result. The first one, and probably the most popular, is doing it online. And although this is the most efficient and easy way to do it, it might not guarantee you a limit increase if you have some questionable things on your credit report or there's things that you need to explain. So this is only if you have a very clean credit report, you have a really good credit score, there's no gaps in anything, nothing that could be controversial. Do it online. It will be almost instant, I think, these days that you will get that credit limit increase. The second method to increase your credit limit is to speak to a representative on the phone. So simply just flip around your credit card, call that number on the back, and talk to a representative. And this will allow you to make a very good case for yourself and kind of explain your situation, what's going on.
That's suspicious.
What your credit looks like, and give you the opportunity to give them a reason why you want this credit limit increase, and maybe they'll even agree with you, but overall it'll be much easier to kind of get them on your side if you're able to speak to them on the phone. Of course, if your credit is very bad or you have some delinquencies and stuff like that, it likely won't change the outcome that much and you might get rejected. But it's still worth a shot if you have anything that could be controversial on your credit report. The third way to increase your credit limit is to simply wait for your bank to determine when you're eligible to get a limit increase. Typically, if you are spending, like I mentioned before, more on your card and paying it back each month and getting close to that limit, they'll automatically realize this and send you an offer to increase your limit. When I was in university, I was paying a lot of fees and stuff like that, as well as housing and food. And I started out at a very low credit limit, which was really frustrating. I was sitting at around $2,000 for my first credit card. And I just kind of left it because I didn't know how to get a credit limit increase. I didn't even know what it was. But then after 3 months in the mail, I got an offer to double it, and then again, and then again, and then again. So over 2 years, I didn't even inquire once, and my credit limit was up to $15,000 just because I kept spending close to that limit, but then paying back the full amount at the end of the month. So again, that's another way to do it if you aren't the type of person to kind of take action and call up a rep. Finally, especially with these lucrative offers out there, applying for a new card might be your best option to get an increase in your credit limit, because that new card will automatically come with its own limit. And if you opt for something like a charge card like the Amex Gold, these don't even have limits, so you'll have even more flexibility if, of course, you can handle it responsibly. Just like increasing your credit limit, this new card will, of course, reduce your utilization rate due to that increase in your overall credit availability, but it will also reduce your credit history age, which could negatively affect your credit score in the short term. So just keep that in mind when you are looking to apply for a new card. But that being said, some of the bonus offers are so lucrative, and it almost makes more sense to just apply for a new card, given that it's a $0 annual fee, or you can get the rewards worth from the annual fee. This makes a lot of sense. Now, what are some of the best practices when you're applying for a credit limit increase, let's talk about that next. One of the most important things when you are calling a rep, which is that second option for to increase your credit limit, you should make sure to always ask whether it will be a hard or a soft pull on your credit report, because the former has the potential to reduce your credit score where the latter does not. So make sure you know this discrepancy and which one of the two they are using. And second, to always ask if they do reject your proposal, why that's the case, and so you know what to work on in order to ask for it next time. And if you decide to pair two of these, which is applying for a new card and then asking for a credit limit increase, don't do this too soon, and that can look very bad in your credit report, but also it'll be, again, a hard inquiry right after you already applied for the card. So I recommend waiting at least 2 months to ask for your initial credit limit increase, handling credit very well in that time between applying for the card and asking for that limit increase. Another very important thing that's often overlooked is to make sure that your job and your pay information is up to date with your credit report. And oftentimes you'll forget about things like a raise or anything that's changed in the last year even, and this update could definitely affect if you get a limit increase or when you're applying for a new card if you get accepted. So make sure before you do those things that your job information and your pay information is up to date. And the reason this is important is because, for example, if you're a student and you just started your first job, that's a huge jump in income, and it's also a lot less risk for the lender. But also they look at your debt to income ratio, which is very important for their determining decisions. And so if the debt to income ratio is a lot lower, especially if you don't carry a lot of balances and your income is a lot higher, your chances of getting a limit increase will increase significantly. And again, if you have a charge card like the Amex Gold and you aren't aware of it, or even the Centurion card, I think this is in the US, you don't need to ask for a credit limit increase because you don't have a credit limit to start, and there's no preset limit actually on those cards. But be aware you also are not able to carry a full balance on those cards either. So if you tend to carry a balance, make sure to stay away from charge cards. This might go without saying, but another thing that you should keep in mind is to have a good credit score and maximize your credit score before applying for a credit limit increase. It's kind of like asking for a raise when your boss is in a good mood, you know? They'll be much more likely to accept rather than if they're in a shitty mood or you having a shitty credit score, they will be less likely to approve you for that. You should also aim to ask for double or triple your current limit. I wouldn't go too much higher than this. It seems a little ambitious and like you're trying to, kind of manipulate what you need to use and what's reasonable. So I believe Amex is very common with doing the 3x limit increase if you inquire with them, but other banks might do double or 2.5 times. I would kind of stick within that range just to be safe and for them to be more likely to accept your limit increase. Make sure to pay down your balances before you apply for a limit increase because they will go in and check what your outstanding balances are. So if you are able to pay back as much as you can on your credit card or other lines of credit, this looks very good and will definitely help your case. Alright, so now that you've learned all this and you know how to get a credit limit increase, you might be wondering how to up your credit score and get it to that perfect 850, or maybe even just to get an excellent credit score. And for that, I have a perfect video for you right here, how to get a perfect 850 credit score, which explains everything and will relieve you of your stress.